That's 4 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Today's bill shows that there's no real vision for Republican energy policy. They don't have a path forward. This was their chance to engage meaningfully on energy policy, to set the tone for a new Congress where we'd work together to protect American energy interests, and instead, they're reduced to defending their oil and gas interests and attacking President Biden's successful efforts to use the Strategic Petroleum Reserve to lower gas prices for Americans. And I've said, as before, Republican administrations, Republican presidents have released oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve in the past. I'm sure that if we had a Republican president now, they'd be heralding the fact that he released oil from the reserves in order to bring down gasoline prices at the pump. I wanted to mention again this letter from Secretary Granholm, our Energy Secretary. She states her department's position on the bill. According to her, this bill would severely restrict or threaten the administration's ability to respond to emergency situations, such as the emergency supply shortage from the one triggered by the war in Ukraine. So this bill would not only make it so that gas prices go higher, but make it more difficult for us to address supply problems. The Secretary identifies, in my opinion, irrefutable terms, the Biden administration's successful use of the reserve to lower gas prices for Americans. Now, understand what this bill does is it says that it prohibits the Department of Energy from releasing oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve until it expands oil and gas drilling on federal lands by the same percentage that it releases oil from the reserve. We've said before, my previous speaker, Mr. Soto, pointed out that the fossil fuel industry already controls large portions of U.S. public lands and waters, and it isn't using most of it. The problem is not a shortage of leases or land. The problem is the fossil fuel industry more interested in keeping supply artificially low so that prices stay artificially high. They don't want to pump oil because if they do so, then the gas price goes down. And that's not what they want. They want to make greater profits. So I ask my colleagues, please, the House Republicans are doing the bidding of their big oil friends at Americans' expense while threatening the president's ability to take timely actions to lower prices for American consumers at the pump. This bill is a giveaway to Republicans' fossil fuel friends who already received billions of dollars in taxpayer-funded subsidies and enjoyed record-shattering profits last year at the expense of working families. Releasing oil from the reserve in response to Putin's invasion of Ukraine was a critical common-sense strategy that helped lower gas prices for American families by $1.69 per gallon since their peak. Restricting the federal government's best tools in the middle of a global energy crisis with no benefit other than increasing the profits of the fossil fuel industry is extreme. And I don't use that word loosely. This bill is an extreme policy that is going to make it so much more difficult for the president to act to deal with the supply chain problems and to try to lower prices for the average Americans. It's extreme in the real sense. And for that reason, I ask my colleagues to vote no on H.R. 21.